Hi, and welcome back to The Single Cook. My name's Tiffany, I'm your host. Today I'm going to be making something that is an ingredient I use in just about everything. It's my veggie and chicken stock concentrate. I say today, really it's going to take a day and a half to make this. I use a commercial grade giant stock pot, plus all of the veggie scraps that I have saved up over the last month to month and a half. I've got about a gallon and a half of different veggie scraps. Anything from onion peels, garlic peels, potato peels, carrot peels, ends of things, the cores of bell peppers. There's a ton of different veggie scraps. All of it can go in. I'll be adding just a crap ton of water and some seasonings in there as well. But we're going to boil it and boil it and boil it and boil it and boil it until it gets down to where I can put it in a normal size pot, one of these. And then I'm going to keep boiling it until I can get it down to an even smaller pot. Until I can get it down to about half a mason jar. And then once I've reached that point, it should be dark brown and kind of syrupy, and I'll put that in the fridge and store it for a long time. Well, at least until I use it all up. So that is what we're going to be doing today. Let's go ahead and get into it. I have my giant pot. I'm going to light the fire underneath it. Set that over. This is my half gallon of different things, scallions, green bean skins, all kinds of things. Then we've got our Ziploc bag, and I've been storing these in the freezer, so it's got all kinds of things in it. Dump that right in, and get those warming up. And now the boring part, adding a ton of water. I won't make you watch that part. Okay, so I've filled it about halfway up. My fire is lit. My scraps are in. I'm going to put in my last bowl of water. And then we're going to be adding our seasonings. Now, I like to add seasoning to mine just to give it a little bit extra flavor. So I'm going to be adding some garlic powder, and I'm going to use the rest of what's in this container. So that looks like it's about a tablespoon and a half. And we're just going to dump that all in. We're going to add some sage, and about the same amount. I'm going to add some thyme. Mine's not open. And you can add whatever seasonings you'd like. I tend to go for the same kind of flavors because they usually go with whatever I'm cooking. I'm going to add some onion powder. And these are all about the same measurements, about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half. And then that mushroom rub that I like to do. And I'm going to finish this off as well. That's got a bit more in it, but it will add to it. Okay. We're going to give that big old stir. Make sure everything is in there. I'm not adding salt to this. Because anytime that I cook, I usually add salt if I really want it. I'm going to add some pepper as well. Just a handful. Can't really go wrong with pepper in it. Give a stir. And it's already a light brown in color. Very light brown. But you can see all of the scraps that are floating around in it. Actually, let's tilt you up. So it is full. It's got all of my scraps floating around in it, and we will bring that to a boil and let that boil for hours and hours and hours. Basically until I go to bed tonight. And then I will look at it at that point and see how far down it has gotten. And if it's gotten down far enough, I will switch it to a smaller pot and then continue tomorrow. At whenever I switch it over to a smaller pot, I will strain everything out and then let it keep going. Probably in a couple of hours, I will check and skim the top to see if there are any like impurities or dirt or anything floating around on the top. Any of the gross stuff, we'll skim that off before we let it just keep going. Okay, so I will check in with you later. Okay, so it has been 6 hours since I started boiling this pot, and I am at the point now where it is about down to here. So I'm going to take a strainer and a bowl, and I'm going to pull out all of the scraps so that I just have the liquid left. And then depending on how much liquid I actually have will determine whether or not I switch it to a new pot, but it is time for the scraps to come out. So the easiest way for me to do that is just to use the strainer, and it's just pulling out as much as I can, leaving as much liquid as I can, so that that will boil down and reduce. And I won't make you watch me empty a big pot, but that is the next step. Okay, so I've gotten all of the scraps out, and it was just enough to fill this little bowl. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the scraps that are done, I'm going to put those in the composter, and I'm going to let that keep boiling and keep going. It's still too much for my next size pot down, so I'm just going to let that keep going. Okay, so it's been about another hour, and I'm going to be transferring what's left in my pot to a smaller pot. So I have a just normal size pot. I have a strainer that I am putting on top of it, just in case there was anything I missed with the hand strainer, so that I can catch all of the little bits before it goes into my broth. Everything is super hot, so pot holders. I'm going to have to do this off camera. Okay, so I have gotten almost all of it from the big pot into my smaller pot. I still have about 2 cups worth that would not fit in. So I'm going to pull my strainer, make sure that any bits that were left don't end up in the concentrate. And most of what's going to be left is going to be stuff like the thick seasonings like the pepper, or any of the peels from something smaller like carrots. So that's all that's really left, and I will end up putting that in the composter, and I'm going to let this come to a boil and keep going. Okay, so our stock concentrate has been boiling and boiling and boiling and boiling. It is now 10.5 hours after I started, and about 30-ish minutes ago, I came in and started stirring it as it boiled, and it is now ready to be jarred. I've probably got about half of a mason jar's worth here. It is very dark brown, almost black, but not quite black. It's still brown. If it is black, you've probably burned it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I get as much as possible into my jar. And I'm just going to add it to the jar that I already had, that already has a bunch of this stock concentrate. It is going to be very thick, and that is the way we want it. Use my spatula to guide it in. The thicker it is, the less you have to use when you go to put it in things. So this consistency, I can probably use about half a teaspoon for an entire pot of broth, and it would work just fine. For anything bigger than that, maybe a soup pot, I would probably go with a whole teaspoon. We get these last little bits. And this can just go in the fridge. If you're going to seal it, then it can go on the counter or in your pantry. I'm not going to be sealing mine because I'm going to be using mine. So I got it almost all the way up. Just pop the lid on. And then this will go in my fridge. So that is my stock concentrate. I am set for the next probably year because there's so much here. So it has taken all day. It's just taken 10.5 hours. It's taken 10.5 hours. to do our stock concentrate, but we are now set for a long time. So even though it took all day to do one thing, to make one ingredient, that one ingredient will last us a long, long time and let us make a bunch of other things a little bit easier with less salt, and we know exactly what went into it. So I love making this kind of stuff because then I know what's in my food. I know what's in my stock concentrates. I don't have to worry about the sodium content or anything else. So please feel free to use this method. Make it your own. Use your own seasonings, your own blends, your own vegetables. I just use whatever I have on hand, whatever scraps I have that I save in the freezer. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. You can buy stock cubes and bouillon and anything else that you'd like. This is just one method for making your own. So thanks for hanging out with us. This has been The Single Cook. My name is Tiffany. Feel free to come back. Feel free to like and subscribe so we can keep making more content.